Take a breath. One slow, easy breath before we begin. Now look around the room you're sitting in. Not the quick scan you do every morning, but soft, deliberate attention. Are the edges of this space calm? Or is there a quiet restlessness you've stopped noticing because it's always been there? Here's what nobody tells you when you're decorating. Your nervous system is always watching. It processes every pattern, every flicker of harsh light, every time you have to angle your body sideways around the coffee table. And slowly, all of that adds up. Your living room, the place that is supposed to be your sanctuary, might actually be keeping your brain in a low-level state of fight or flight. Today, we're walking through 5 design habits that are quietly overstimulating your nervous system, and exactly what to replace them with. By the end of this, you won't just see your room differently. You'll feel it differently too. Let's begin. Part 1, the myth of maximalist contrast. There's a design trend celebrated on every mood board and magazine spread: bold, high-contrast pattern, graphic wallpaper, black and white geometric tiles, a zigzag rug that looks striking in the showroom. These things are not ugly, but they might be doing something to your brain that no one warned you about. When your eyes land on a high-frequency pattern, your visual cortex micro-adjusts constantly. It's trying to find where one edge ends and another begins, and that effort never fully stops while the pattern is in view. Neurologists call this the visual strobe effect. Your brain wants a resting point, a place to exhale. But stark contrast and jagged geometries offer no such landing. So your nervous system never fully downshifts when you're in that room. The antidote isn't bare walls. It's choosing pattern with mercy, organic shapes over hard geometry, softer contrasts like dusty sage against warm cream rather than black against white. Let the pattern breathe, and your brain will breathe with it. But visual noise is only the beginning. Because even in the most serene room, there's one design choice that overrides everything, and it's directly above your head right now. Part TWO, the tyranny of overhead lighting. Let's talk about light. Not warm morning sunlight through a window, but the single overhead fixture flooding your room from one point in the ceiling. This is one of the most common and most harmful design habits in modern homes, and we've inherited it almost without question. Many overhead LEDs marketed as daylight emit light at around 6,000 Kelvin cool, blue-toned light that your brain interprets as high noon. When you're bathed in that light at 9 p.m. trying to unwind, your brain is receiving one message while your body needs the opposite. Melatonin production slows. A low cortisol spike lingers, and you wonder why you feel wired but exhausted. The solution is layered light, multiple warm sources instead of one harsh overhead. A floor lamp in the corner, a table lamp beside the sofa, bulbs between 2,700 and 3,000 Kelvin. Add a dimmer, and you can lower intensity as the evening progresses, gently signaling to your nervous system that the day is ending. 2 lamps and a dimmer can change the emotional quality of your evenings more than almost any renovation. We've softened what you see and warmed how you're lit, but there's a third stressor that your body knows before your mind does. It's not about what you look at, it's about how you have to move. Part 3, the high-traffic obstacle course. Imagine walking into your living room right now. Do your feet move in a clean, uninterrupted line? Or do you angle left to avoid the armchair, sidestep around the coffee table, turn your hips to squeeze past the bookshelf? This is invisible friction. Every time your body has to navigate a jagged, interrupted path, dozens of times a day, your nervous system registers it as a micro-obstacle. Small as it is, it accumulates. Research also suggests that living in close proximity to sharp, angular surfaces maintains a mild physical vigilance. Your body, on some level, is always slightly aware of those edges. The remedy is simple. Clear pathways are not wasted space. They are functional peace. Pull furniture slightly away from walls, create generous flow between pieces, and ask honestly, can I walk through here without thinking? If the answer is no, something needs to move. Rounded tables, smaller accent chairs, and open sightlines are not luxuries. They are the architecture of ease. We've addressed the floor and how you move through it. But there's an entire vertical dimension above eye level that may be the most exhausting part of your room and the most overlooked. Part FOU are visual weight and shelf exhaustion. Open shelving became one of the defining trends of modern interior design. And I understand the appeal. A beautifully curated shelf is genuinely lovely. But here is what no curation tutorial mentions. Every single object on an open shelf is a visual demand. Your brain, as it sweeps the room, registers each item: the ceramic bowl, the stack of books, the trailing ivy, the framed photo, and for a fraction of a second, it notices, names, and files each one. Multiply that across a full wall of shelving, and you have what psychologists call shelf exhaustion, the cumulative cognitive load of objects constantly competing for your attention, not loudly, but persistently. Try this. Clear one surface completely, leave it empty. Then sit across the room and notice what happens when your eyes land there. There's a softening. Your gaze finds no demand and simply rests. That is not emptiness. That is recovery. Negative space is medicine, and it costs nothing. We've cleared what you see. Now let's talk about what you feel, because the materials you surround yourself with reach into your nervous system in ways that go deeper than vision alone. Part 5. Sensory recalibration through texture. Run your hand along the surface nearest to you. Is it cold, smooth, synthetic, something that looks soft but feels somehow inert? Modern homes are filled with materials that are visually clean but sensorially hollow. And without realizing it, something is quietly missing. Biophilic texture, the textures of the natural world, has a measurably different effect on the nervous system. The weight of heavy linen, the grain of raw wood, the give of a wool throw, the slight irregularity of hand-thrown ceramic. These materials carry warmth and density that synthetic surfaces simply don't. When we surround ourselves with them, the baseline activation of the nervous system gently lowers. The same is true for color. Highly saturated colors excite. They're designed to catch your eye, and they do. But in a home, that constant catching has a physiological cost. Muted, desaturated tones, terracotta quieted to dry clay, forest green softened to sage, lower your baseline arousal below conscious awareness. Muting the palette is, quite literally, lowering the volume of the room. When you bring all 5 of these shifts together, softened patterns, warm layered light, clear open pathways, rested surfaces, grounded textures, something changes, not all at once. But gradually, you notice you exhale differently when you walk through the door, your shoulders drop. The room begins to feel less like a place you're enduring and more like a place that is genuinely holding you. Your home doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to match any trend or cost you anything dramatic. What you need, is for it to feel like a place your nervous system can finally rest. Start with one thing today. Change one bulb. Move one piece of furniture. Clear one surface. These are not just design choices. They are acts of care for yourself inside the space you come home to every single day. If this way of thinking about your home resonates with you, I'd love to have you stay. Subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell, because next time we're going even deeper. This conversation is just beginning. Take care of your space, and let your space take care of you.